So now we're in the middle of July, and this is the month I would say that as allotment holders, gardeners, vegetable growers, wherever you are, this is the month where we really start to see the benefits of all of our labours, all of that digging and preparing and sowing and planting. And now when we get to July, we really start to reap a harvest. And yes, we've had early crops of various things, but this is the month when things start to really become available for us to use. So I'm going to take you around the allotment today, show you what I've already picked, what's growing and what's about to be ready for harvest, and show you some of the things that are going on here. So if you like the video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and a few recipe ideas, then don't forget to press the subscribe button. So before we start the tour, I'll just give you a quick scan across the whole allotment so you can see exactly how much is growing. So starting off here in this little corner over here, I'm going to go around each of the various crops and show you what they are and talk to you about them, show you their progress. But look at all the growth that we've got throughout the whole allotment. And even though now we're in the middle of July, there's still an awful lot going on in the PolyHouse, and there's some crops in there that I've just planted that will go out in the next few days. So we'll come on to that in a minute. So let's start the tour then and show you what's growing. So in this first bed here we have French climbing beans, and you can see how they've found their way up the poles. They're already starting to take on these light pink or purple flowers, and they will become the beans once they're pollinated. And as you can see now, they've reached the top of the cage. So what I'll do, I'll wait for them to get a little bit longer and then gently train them over the other side so they start growing and clinging on to the cage on the other side, and that way you get more beans out of it. You have to be careful when you do that though, because what you don't want to do is snap off the bean heads, because then they will obviously that'll be the end of how far they will grow. Here I have celery, and you need to keep these well watered. And I planted these at the same time as the celery I'm going to show you in the PolyHouse, and these aren't as well advanced, but they're doing okay. They're doing good. So there's plenty of celery there. These have started to take off recently. These are the butternut squash. I've got 5 of them, and they will start to spread everywhere now. So again, with the weather we're having at the moment, which is quite warm, just keep them really well watered. So they're the butternut squash. So there's 5 of them, so they should give me a fair few butternut squash. Now we'll come round to the rest of that bed in a minute. I just want to take you around over this side. This is my little herb bed, and this is only temporary, but I've got lemon balm, rosemary, chives and sage in here, and there's a little bit of mint, but this is something I'm still deciding about what I do next year. I'm going to make myself a herb bed somewhere else in the allotments. This is just temporary, and the reason it's temporary is because I had to move it when I built my PolyHouse, because it was right in front of it and in the way. This is the other side of the French beans. Now just at the side of here we can see the Mangetout, and look how high they are. They've grown right to the top of the cage, and if you look closely, well, we don't just look closely, there's loads of Mangetout on there, all that ready to start being picked, which I'm going to pick tomorrow. It's a variety called Oregon Sugar Pod, which is a really popular variety, and the good thing about the Mangetout is it freezes really well. There's absolutely loads on there, you can see it all just through there. So I'm going to have plenty of that. These were the ones that I started off in the gutter. If you look on the channel, there's a video from a couple of months ago which showed you how I put these in a plastic gutter and then transferred them into the ground. Over here we have cucumbers, and again they've really taken off over recent days. You can see they're already round about 3.5 feet high, but also now they're starting to put out these side shoots here. Now a lot of people let cucumbers grow on the ground, which you can, as long as you maybe mulch them with maybe straw or eggshells or anything really, just to prevent pests nibbling away at them. All of the yellow flowers you can see will be cucumbers. I've just noticed over here that one of the cucumbers has started forming. That's brilliant. So I'll get loads of cucumbers off this. I've got 6 plants here and 1 over by the Mangetout, which I'll show you in a moment. And what I'll do is give these plenty of water, but water right down to the roots. These are growing, I'd say, about 2 to 3 inches every day in this heat. And I tie them up to the cane, so I've got to add more canes here, and then let them grow up them. So they will give me plenty of cucumbers. Sweet corn, 2 sowings of sweet corn. We've got the larger ones here, and about 4 or 5 weeks behind them there's another sowing, as you can see, which are a lot smaller. And then just at the back of here, just at the back of the sweet corn, have some leeks. Now I haven't done very well with leeks or onions this year, and these were given to me by my allotment colleague Andy, and he tells me there's a variety called Musselborough, which is one of the most popular varieties of leeks. So I put them in, and they should grow. I know with leeks you're supposed to put them in drills, put them in holes, and then just let the water go into the holes and the soil find its way around them. And I've not planted them like that, but I've just put them in so that the soil's already around them. And in here, I don't know if you can see through the cage, this is kale, and that's gone really well. And again, there's a video on the channel showing you when I planted that, probably about transplanted it about 4 or 5 weeks ago, so it's really taken off, and that's looking really good. The reason for the green netting is to prevent anything getting at them, because they're a member of the Brassica family. They'll be prone to things like butterflies, caterpillars and all those types of things. Although kale is less vulnerable, it's still not immune, so that's why they are green netted. This is the other side here with the Mangetout. You can see again just more Mangetout, loads of it all ready for picking on there. That's the other cucumber which went in a little bit later, so that's going to go up the fence there. Another cucumber as well, so that's 2 cucumbers. Here we have you've got the squash there, which we've already looked at, and these are 5 courgettes plants, all started in the PolyHouse. I've already taken a couple of courgettes, loads of yellow flowers on there, and they'll be the courgettes. You can see the courgettes forming here, and there's a nice large one ready to pick just here as well. So plenty of those will come. And in between I've got a row of parsnips, and they were put on, I think I mentioned in the last video, almost like an emergency planting, because I was in the PolyHouse and the weather got so hot they were getting scorched. I had to transplant them out quickly, so that's where I put them. Behind here we have 2 bays of potatoes, and they're going to start to die off now. A lot of people ask me the question, when are potatoes ready to harvest? Well, obviously the longer you leave them in, the more or larger the potatoes are going to be. But what you'll see from now onwards, the leaves will start to go yellow. Can you just see there? Just starting to go yellow. It's not quite ready yet. But with me, I wait for them to die off completely. These plants will be completely died off, and then they'll be ready to harvest. So I reckon there's probably about another 4 to 5 weeks before I'll start harvesting these potatoes. These are the Desiree potatoes that I planted on my previous video a number of months ago. Main crop potatoes these, so they take about 16 weeks before you can harvest them. Over here we have the strawberries, 2 bays of strawberries, and I've had so many strawberries off here, 10 bowls of strawberries, 10 big large full bowls of strawberries I've had, and made loads of jam and puddings and all those types of things. And even now there are still strawberries on there ready to pick, although a lot less than there have been. But yep, so there's another picking of strawberries here. So what'll happen now is that now that they're coming to the end of their fruiting, I'll take the netting off in the next week or so and leave these runners on. I've been pulling them off while they've been fruiting. Now I'm going to leave them on because now the fruiting is nearly over, I can allow the plants to produce these runners, which will be the plants that I'll produce for next year. These are my older plants, strawberry plants over here, and these are the ones that will be dug up and replaced next year. So there'll be brand new strawberry plants in this bed, because after 3 years the strawberries get smaller and smaller. If you grow strawberries regularly, you'll know that they get smaller as time goes on. Here we have spinach, and again that's ready to pick as well. I'm going to take a few leaves off that. So rather than dig a whole spinach plant up, just take the leaves that you want, and then it becomes much more productive. That's looking really good. I've not had very much success with the spinach in the past, so I'm happy with that. And beyond here we have onions. Now these ones are doing okay here, the ones nearest to the spinach. You can see they're starting to bulb up now, so they'll start to get larger, and maybe in about 4 to 5 weeks they'll be ready to harvest. But the ones behind them, I've had I suppose you could say it's a bit of a disaster this year. Put onion sets in November, and I've had very little, and I've just left them. So these are going to be dug up, and I'm going to put some lettuce in here when these are dug up. I'm hoping to have a bit more success with onions next year. I've always done well with onions, but this year for some reason not so well. This empty bed here is where my garlic was, and I've harvested about 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, 70 bulbs of garlic. Absolutely amazing. Really pleased with that, because that's the first time that I've really grown garlic, you know, for myself. So here, this bed now, as I say, will probably be lettuce, maybe beetroot, which I'm going to show you in the PolyHouse in a minute. In here we have 2 rows of Brussels sprouts. They're coming really well. So the 2 nearest rows are Brussels sprouts. Notice it's covered in this green netting again, because as members of the brassica family, everything likes it. So you've got to cover it up. In the winter, it's less of a problem. But even with this green netting, you'll notice that this end one here, something still managed to get in and get at the cabbage. But there's enough in there for me to be able to get a decent crop out of. So you know, if you've not grown brassicas before and you wonder why they're being eaten, it's because everything likes them. So here we have the beetroot. Now this is the variety called Renova that I keep going on about, which is the thin, long beetroot rather than the bulb beetroot, and it is really good, really healthy. I've got a second sowing in the PolyHouse, but notice now it's starting to become ready. You can just see the beetroot. I could pull that and use that now. Just pull it out, and there you can see the beetroot. That's what they look like. They're these long, thin beetroots. They're not like the big bulby ones that you get, but you sort of clean them off, cut them, and then boil them. They're absolutely wonderful to taste. So you can put them in roasts, or you can pickle them. Here, in this bed here, under the netting, is my Swedes, and this is the variety called Helena. And notice they're green netted as well. And over the last 3 to 4 years, I've had no success at all with Swedes. So this year I thought to myself, I'm going to net them. And it's made such a difference, because very few of the leaves have any attack on them under these nets. I can see as well that the stems look really strong in there as well. So that's going to give me a good crop of Swedes. And the good thing about everything in this bed here that we're looking at now, everything is winter hardy, so I don't need to worry about harvesting all this before any frosts, because it will all be okay. So I can just take it as I need it. This is the other side of the strawberry bed. These small plants are the new plants from this year. So these will be the main productive plants for next year. They don't look very much at the moment, but they'll die back over the winter, and then they will produce most of my strawberries. It's my second lot of rhubarb over here. I've already had a load of rhubarb, made loads of rhubarb ginger and orange crumbles, and there's another lot to get or harvest over the next week or so. And over here is my raspberries, and my word, how many raspberries have I had? It's been absolutely crazy this year. Still loads on there. They'll be picked probably tonight or tomorrow. When you get to this season, when your raspberries start fruiting like this, you need to pick them every 2 days. Otherwise they'll start to over ripen, and then you'll find that they'll be too soft, and they'll start to fall off. So, and I've had loads. I've had bowls and bowls of raspberry. I've made raspberry jam, raspberry crumble, raspberry pudding, raspberry ripple ice cream. I've made that as well. And they're such nice raspberries. And the good thing about these raspberries is that they're a mixed variety. So you can get summer and autumn variety. And I've had my crop now, and in September I'll get a load more raspberries off these. So I really love the raspberries. Here we have the remainder of the broad beans. I've sort of neglected these a little bit this year because of the build of the PolyHouse. This area got a bit neglected because it was our main building area just at the side of it. So I've let these grow, and to be honest, I didn't expect much of them. So all I've got to do now is pick the last few broad beans. I've already picked some the other day, and there are loads of really nice broad beans. We had some with our dinner the other day actually. It's absolutely beautiful, but you can see there's loads of broad beans on there ready to pick. So they'll be picked in the next few days. And over here we have just a few. These are called, I believe, tomatillo plants, and these were given to me by another allotment holder, and I've planted them here and see how they go. They've got flowers on them. They do look a little bit, I suppose, a little bit pale at the moment, but I'm sure they will, with a bit of good sunshine like we're having, they'll soon recover. So that's the outside of the allotment. As you can see, absolutely fabulous. So much growth, so healthy. And now we're going to go inside and look in the PolyHouse. So you'll know from my last video that I've been looking at trying to get better at succession planting, i.e. when a crop comes out, have I got something to put in its place? And this PolyHouse has helped me so much to do that. I've grown, and the temperature in here is absolutely fabulous today. I mean, you could almost sunbathe in it. It's brilliant. Lots of tomatoes on the outside of the perimeter, and on this side as well. I've probably grown too many tomatoes this year, to be honest, but we'll see how they go. In between the tomatoes, on this side here, we have little gem lettuce, and then they are now all ready for picking or starting to be picked. So they look really, really good. And we have peppers here, and here two varieties of peppers. One of them is But Jolokia, which is a really hot spicy pepper, and another one is Fuego F1. They've been pretty slow this year, the peppers, but this environment has definitely helped bring them along. Before we come on to show you what I'm actually planting, I'll show what else is in here. This is my white Lisbon spring onions. That's the second sowing. I've already taken some from my first sowing, and these are two blueberry bushes just over here. You can probably maybe just see that there are blueberries just starting to grow on them. They'll be a bit slow because they're quite small this year, but I'm going to have a lot of expectations for them for next year. Here I've, as part of succession planting, I've planted about 10 parsnips, dug the ground really well and planted some parsnips. I've never grown them inside before, and this is literally experimental. A lot of what I'm doing here is experimental, but I have, as you saw earlier in the video, I've got a small row of parsnips outside. I think these are called Sabre, and they're looking pretty good and healthy as well. And here, ready to harvest, and these will come up over the next couple of days, are the spring onions, and these are a variety called Ramrod. The other ones I've got white Lisbon. This is something I'm really happy about, and I've been trying to grow for years but never managed it, is celery. The celery looks amazing. Look at the stems on that, and there's absolutely so much of it. Very healthy, and it's an inside environment. As I said, these ones are more advanced than the ones that are outside, but they were planted at the same time, so that tells us obviously that this environment's good for these. But as long as you keep celery well watered, if you are going to grow them inside, you virtually need to water them every day, because they do like a lot of water, celery. So make sure that you do that. Here I've got another sowing of little gem lettuce, so these are going to go outside tomorrow, and they will give me the next lot of them. And over here, more spring onions, so they're a later sowing, leeks, and here I'm trying some onions, and when this pallet goes, which these trays that you're looking at are sitting on, that's going to give me some area to plant. And obviously when the little gem lettuce go, I'll have some more space. Here's some more beetroots here. These have got to go outside tomorrow. Okay, as you can see, they are starting to struggle now in the trays, so I need to get them outside. And they're the same variety, Renova, as you looked at a moment ago. And here we have Brussels sprouts, just half a dozen Brussels sprouts here, that again I'll try and make as a later sowing. Here we have turnips, so I've got to thin them out and get them transplanted. So here we have spring cabbage, which again I'm sort of experimenting with a little bit, and there's a few spare strawberry plants here. Behind the tomatoes, I've got some raspberry plants that I took out from my raspberry bed. I've already given some away, but these are spares, so I'm thinking about what to do with them, because I don't really want them in the pots too long. So as you can see, plenty going on in the PolyHouse, and lots of possibilities that I can explore next year, but also so pleased with what I've been able to do this year. So that's it. As you can see, July is an amazing month, and now from now onwards, right the way from now up until September, I'm going to get a regular supply of loads and loads of vegetables, and as you've seen, I'm going to get a supply of many others going into the winter because of the way I've planned my sowing and planting this year. So if you like the video and you've got some ideas, brilliant. Don't forget to put a comment in the comment below if you have anything you're growing, maybe I'm not, or maybe you got some ideas, then please put them in the comments below so people can share them. If you do like the video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit and veg and a few recipe ideas, then please press the subscribe button, and I'll see you all on the next video.